What's going on, everybody? This is going to be a kind of longer breakdown on Oscar De La Hoya's underrated defense. I kind of want to explain it a little more thorough because a lot of my videos it's very quick and I don't really explain it to the best of my abilities. So this is going to be a film study, film analysis, film session, whatever y'all like to call it. We're going to start it off with sticking out the sword. You know, you look at modern fighters nowadays, a very good fighter to study in terms of sticking out the sword today is Mikey Garcia. And this is basically a technique where you stick out your lead hand and then you use it either to blind your opponent, which, you know, Floyd Mayweather calls the blinder, or you push their shoulder down so that they cannot use that arm. So if you push the shoulder of the opponent's left arm, if you push your opponent's left shoulder, you're gonna avoid them from using that left shoulder. And if they try to use that left shoulder, all you got to do is to push it down. You're gonna push it down so that they're gonna be off balance and you know they're gonna be hesitant of using that arm again when they do it. So they're gonna be forced to throw their right hand after that. Anyways, here's a clip so you guys can better understand. Here he frames Julio Cesar Chavez's shoulder, and here you can see him framing that left shoulder of Chavez right here. Chavez is off balance, and then he's gonna try to throw a right hand at Oscar, but Oscar can already see that coming, so he blocks that right hand partially. See that one more time. Frames that left shoulder. And by sticking out the sword, you're also doing one thing. Especially if you're doing it on your opponent's shoulder, you're doing one thing. You're baiting them from using that other hand. So if you stick out the sword and you push down the left shoulder of your opponent, which Oscar did here, he pushes down Chavez's left shoulder, you're also baiting them to throw that right hand, because if they don't, they're going to be stuck in that position. The only way for them to get away from that position is either to step back or to throw a punch. And the only hand that they can really use is their right hand, because obviously you've already controlled that left shoulder. So there it is. Throws the right hand, partially blocked. Because of the camera angle, we can't really get to see if it landed or not. But you can ask CompuBox about that. Alright. Here's another example right here. Oscar will throws a jab right there, and here y'all might not see it because it happened so quickly. But here he sticks out the sword. He sticks out the sword and then he pushes down. He doesn't really push it down, but he kind of put his left glove on Chavez's right shoulder. And that kind of baited Chavez to throw a jab, which, of course, Oscar already saw that coming, because by putting his left glove on that right hand, he's already controlling it. Not as much control right there. He didn't control it as much, but he kind of baited Chavez into throwing that jab. So there it is. Now here's another one. He's gonna frame that right shoulder, sticking out the sword again. He's gonna frame that left shoulder, and then Chavez surprisingly uses his right hand, which doesn't normally happen, because if you push down the right shoulder of your opponent, normally they would use their left hand to counter that. But here, Chavez will surprisingly use his right shoulder, and he tried to target the head, which is pretty surprising, because if you try to target the head from that position, most of the time your opponent will block it with their shoulder. They'll just raise that arm up, and then they're going to block that with their shoulder. Basic body mechanics. I was surprised that he went for the head and not for the body, because as you can see, Oscar De La Hoya's body is open right there, so he could have thrown a right hand to the body or a right hook to the body. But in that case, he threw a right hand to the head. and he missed it. He got blocked. And then throws a left hook, which was also blocked by Oscar De La Hoya. So that was it. This is going to be an uncut version, okay? Now let's talk about some efficient counters. This is going to be an uncut, unedited breakdown. I kind of like to do this more than trying to edit it and put some clips together, and it's just, I don't like that, you know. I like talking over the clips like this and being able to explain in a thorough way, in a very good way. I don't like explaining it in a very quick way that most people won't understand it. So here we're going to talk about some efficient countering now, which is very, again, it's an overlooked aspect. If you look at James Toney or Pernell Whitaker, they counter off of fancy movements, but we're going to see some efficient counters from Oscar De La Hoya where he uses distance rather than using fancy slips and fancy bob and weaves, you know. All he does here is going to take a little step back, and then, you know, he's going to throw a counter of his own. So here Oscar will take a slight step back. There's Chavez throwing his jab, and as he takes that step back, and as he sees that jab by Chavez, he's going to throw a body shot. Going to throw a body shot right there. Okay, let's take a look at that once again. Here, Chavez throws a jab one more time. And then here, you're going to kind of see Oscar. Look at the trajectory of his punch. It's very unpredictable. So here, you look at the trajectory of his punch. It almost looks like an uppercut. So that's also a big problem when you're facing a guy like Oscar or Canelo or Ricardo Lopez. Their hooks and their uppercuts almost look the same. The trajectory is the same. But anyway, here's going to take a slight step back, throws a left hook to the body, which was blocked by Chavez. So props to Chavez for that. Now let's look at this once again. He's going to take a slight step back and then throw a body shot. Again, blocked by Chavez, but pretty good job on Oscar's part. Just shows you how easy it is to counter, and how easy it is to counter without using, you know, fancy head movement or fancy bob and weaves, whatever it might be. You see Pernell Whitaker, James Toney. You see guys like this who have great reflexes, and you try to copy them. It's not going to work. It's not going to work because reflexes are kind of genetic, rather. It's kind of genetic. You can improve it but only to a certain extent. And if you try to bob and weave like a Pernell Whitaker, it's going to take a lot of air out of you. You're going to get tired quickly. So it takes a slight step back and then counters right there. That's how simple it is. You don't need no fancy head movement or a Pernell Whitaker type of head movement, James Toney type of head movement. All you need is just take a little step back and then counter off of that. You know. Now we're going to be taking a look at using head movement together with distance. You know, a while ago I talked about not having to have head movement, but I was talking about the fancy head movement, like the over-exaggerated slips. Why? Because that takes a lot of air out of you, and after a while of doing that, you're going to get tired more quickly. You don't need to over-exaggerate your bob and weaves. So here, we're going to see Oscar slip the jab, and then right after that, he takes a step back. Now, what's the benefit of doing this? Y'all might ask me, what's the benefit of doing this? Is this only meant so that you can look good and you won't look flat-footed? No, it's not. If you take a look at this, Chavez throws his jab, and he's getting ready to load up that right hand. However, if you look at Oscar, he takes a step back, and he avoids that follow-up shot by Chavez. So that's one of the benefits of using distance after you move your head. If you move your head and take a step back, you're inadvertently taking away the ability of your opponent to throw a follow-up shot like a right hand or a left hook. So that's a great way. If you're only defending one punch at a time rather than the 3 punches, it's going to be much better. And if you want to defend one punch at a time. Only way to do that, and the most efficient way to do that, is by moving your head and then stepping back, or stepping back and then moving your head. It's a very efficient way, and it conserves a lot of energy as well. Here's another example. Oscar will again slip that jab, or pull, I should say. He's gonna pull, and then he's gonna lean on Chavez's shoulder. And then from here, of course, Oscar already knows he's obviously leaning on Chavez's left arm, so that obviously means that the only punch Chavez can really throw is a right hand. Overhand right, right uppercut, right hook, whatever he can choose here. And then from here, Oscar doesn't have to worry if it's a right hook, if it's a right hand, or if it's a right uppercut, because either way, he's just going to take a step back, and he's going to be able to defend all three right punches. There, Chavez throws a right uppercut. He doesn't. He stops halfway, but that's obviously because Chavez is aware that Oscar can already defend that punch. So he throws that uppercut, and as you can see, he stops halfway. He stops halfway into the punch. Now, here's another aspect that I think a lot of people don't apply into their game, and that's punching while moving back. A lot of people move back, but they never punch while moving back. They know how to punch while moving forward, because that gives them that forward momentum, and that increases their power. But while they're moving back, obviously you don't have a lot of power in your punch, and while you're moving back, the power of your punch is obviously not the same as if you're moving forward and you're using that forward momentum to your advantage. But if you're facing a pressure fighter like Chavez, obviously you want to be able to learn the ability to punch while moving back, because that's the only way for you to counter his forward pressure, unless you want to go toe-to-toe with Chavez, which, you know, Oscar also did go to toe-to-toe with Chavez in certain moments of the fight. But there were moments in the fight where Chavez became aggressive and Oscar kind of had to backpedal and punch while moving back, which I'm going to show to you right now. Here Chavez will throw a jab, kind of setting up his forward pressure. But right before he can apply that forward pressure on Oscar, Oscar throws some quick jabs at him and stops him on his tracks. Stops him from applying that forward pressure. Here's another one right here. Chavez throws that left hook. Oscar throws a left hook of his own. And then Chavez goes forward, keeps on coming forward. And then that's a game-changing punch right there. That's the punch that stopped Chavez from coming forward. Is that right hand. And then after this right hand, Oscar will throw a jab. And as you can see, that in round one, if you watch this fight, in round one, as early as round one, Chavez already had a cut. That's why Chavez wasn't as aggressive in his fight, because that cut simply affected his vision and his reaction time. There, again, De La Hoya throws a left hook. Chavez keeps on chasing him, throws a left hook. Oscar counters with a left hook, and then there, Oscar takes a step back, and then look how he shifts his weight. As he takes a step back, most of y'all will probably think, oh, you don't have the ability to shift your weight from your back foot to your front foot. But watch how beautifully he shifts his weight from his back foot to his front foot. There throws a right hand, and then a powerful jab, almost like a corkscrew punch right there, corkscrew jab. Let's see that one more time, one last time. Left hook, right hand, and then almost like a corkscrew jab. It was so quick. Guys, I'm playing this in slow motion, but if you look at that jab, that was hella quick. I'm playing this in slow motion right now, but you look at that jab, it almost looks like full speed. But anyways, here's the last example. Here, Chavez will try to set up his combos, starting off with the left hook, moving his head, evading all of those punches by Oscar. But Oscar simply stops him by throwing a variety of left hands. There throws two jabs and then a left hook. 2 jabs, left hook, almost like a check hook. Then he fakes that jab, then he throws 2 jabs again. 2 jabs, fake the left hook, fake the jab, and then throws 2 jabs right there. And that stops Oscar in his tracks. And as you can see right here, right after he did that, Chavez kept on chasing him forward. And as Chavez chases him forward, Chavez pays the price because he got countered with a left hook to the body as he's coming forward. Alright guys, that was it. Very quick video. More thorough, more, how could I call it? It's a little more it's a little longer. I've explained it more thoroughly. And you're gonna expect more videos like this in the future. So that was it. Thank you guys for watching.